Right now, thousands of the smartest people alive are being paid to do one thing: reach inside your head, capture your attention, and quietly change what you want. This is not a conspiracy. It is an industry. It is more than a century old. It touches you thousands of times a day. And for most of your life, it has been winning. This is the story of how advertising stopped selling products and started conquering minds. To see how strange this is, go back to a world before it. For most of history, selling was simple and honest in a way. If you made soap, your advertisement told people a fact. Here is soap. It is here. This is the price. Advertising was information. It answered a want that already existed inside the customer. You needed a thing, and someone told you where to find it. Then, about 100 years ago, industry created a problem it did not expect. Factories became so powerful they could make far more than people actually needed. A single plant could flood a whole country with product. And a terrifying question appeared behind the boardroom doors. What do you do when you can make more than anyone wants? You have two choices: make less, or teach people to want more. They chose to teach people to want more, and to do it, they turned to a man who understood the human mind better than any salesman ever had. His name was Edward Bernays, and it is not an accident that he was the nephew of Sigmund Freud. Bernays took his uncle's most dangerous idea, that beneath our reasonable, rational surface, we are driven by unconscious desires and fears we barely understand, and he pointed it straight at the shopping public. He realized something that changed the world. People do not buy things for the reasons they think they do. Underneath every purchase is a hidden wish, for status, for belonging, for safety, for freedom. If you could reach that hidden wish, you would not have to convince anyone of anything. They would convince themselves. In 1928, he wrote a book, and he named it, with chilling honesty, Propaganda. In it, he described a method he called the engineering of consent, the art of making people want what you want them to want, without them ever knowing you were there. And then he proved it. In 1929, a tobacco company had a problem. Half the population would not buy their product because it was still a deep taboo for women to smoke in public. So they hired Bernays. He did not run an ad that said, "Please, ladies, buy cigarettes." He did something far cleverer. He hired a group of fashionable young women to march in the New York City Easter Parade and, at a planned moment, to light their cigarettes in front of the cameras. Then he told the press these women were feminists, and the cigarettes were, in his phrase, torches of freedom, a strike against male oppression. It was theater. His own secretary lit the first one. But it worked. Overnight, smoking was not a dirty habit. It was liberation. A woman's cigarette became a tiny flag of her independence. Sales climbed, and the tobacco company's name was never mentioned once. That is the engineering of consent, and it revealed the secret the whole industry was about to be built on. The secret was this: you do not sell the product, you sell the feeling. You sell who the person will become if they buy it. Bernays' own partners said the quiet part out loud. People, he wrote, must be trained to desire. We must shape a new mentality so that a man's desires overshadow his needs. And that is exactly what happened. Advertising stopped describing objects and started rewiring people. It stopped answering your desires and started manufacturing them. It found your insecurities, the fear that you were not beautiful enough, not successful enough, not loved enough. And it offered a product as the cure. It painted a picture of the good life and quietly wrote its own products into every corner of the frame. For most of the 20th century, this was the game. Reach into the mind, attach a feeling to a product, and sell the feeling. But then the world changed again, and the game changed with it. Because as the decades passed, we did not just get more products, we got more messages, more channels, more screens. An ocean of information rising every year, and back in 1971, a brilliant economist named Herbert Simon saw exactly where it was heading. He wrote a single sentence that predicted our entire century. A wealth of information, he said, creates a poverty of attention. Think about what that means. When information becomes infinite, the one thing that becomes precious and rare and finite is your attention. The few waking hours you can actually give to anything. And the moment attention became the scarce resource, it became the prize. The industry quietly changed its goal. It was no longer enough to make you want a product. Now the fight was for the attention itself. And this time, they had a weapon Bernays never dreamed of. Decades earlier, a psychologist named B.F. Skinner had found the most powerful pattern in behavioral science. If you give a reward on a random, unpredictable schedule, sometimes yes, sometimes no, sometimes a jackpot, a creature will pull the lever compulsively, far more than if the reward came every time. It is the exact mechanism of a slot machine, and it is the exact mechanism of the feed in your pocket. Pull down to refresh, sometimes nothing, sometimes something wonderful. Pull again. The most brilliant designers alive took Skinner's lever and put it in a billion hands. And so, the conquest completed itself. Advertising began as a fact about soap. It became a machine for manufacturing your desires. And it ended as an industry engineered to capture the one thing you can never make more of: your attention, the raw material your entire life is actually made of. Here is the thing they hope you never realize. You cannot unsee this, but you can see it. Every time you feel the pull, the sudden urge to buy, to scroll, to want, you can stop for half a second and ask the one question the whole machine is built to prevent. Is this desire actually mine, or was it installed? Because the mind they spent 100 years learning to conquer is still yours, but only if you are paying attention.